This last email came to me yesterday. This gentleman says, I have a friend who went from Hebrew Roots who now believes we should all follow the oral law, Talmud, etc., when it comes to interpreting the Torah. Basically, his point is, without following the sages and listening to their rulings on Shabbat, tzitzit, shaving side of beard, etc., we will all be following our own guidelines, and the Messianic world will be a complete mess. Essentially, he is saying we need authority, and we might as well follow the authority that has been in place for some time. Without having an authority like the Sanhedrin, we have to come up with our own guidelines. I have so much that I could say about this. And thank you for such a well-put question. This is one that I think a lot of our Christian brothers and sisters probably won't understand why we would even discuss this kind of thing. But this is actually a very important topic, and the reason why is because so many people in the Hebrew Roots and Messianic movement are kind of torn over this. How much rabbinic tradition and how much tradition in general, whether it's Christian tradition or rabbinic tradition, whatever you want to say, right? I mean, should we go to Ash Wednesday? Should and most people in the Hebrew Roots and Messianic movement are going to say, of course not. But the Christian brothers and sisters are going to say, no, it's not a bad holiday, blah, all these kind of things. So what side of the fence should we land on? It's a very, very good question. Now, do you want to start on this, Rob? First thoughts?
Well, I have a couple thoughts. A couple verses. Let's just assume that viewpoint.
Okay.
Let's assume that I'm a Hebrew roots person, and I want to make sure that I'm not inventing my own traditions, because I could be totally wrong. Okay, so let's say I'm anxious about that. I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah.
I want to walk in the ways of the Torah, but I'm without a tradition, and so I don't know what to do. Okay, and then I come across like an Art Scroll book or Aish.com or whatever.
Oozing with rich tradition, right?
Yeah,
and culture. It's a wonderful, beautiful culture.
Man, I'm really missing out. Okay. If I don't recognize Art Scroll or Aish or Chabad as missionary proselytizing institutions, which in fact they are.
Sure.
Right? If I'm a little on the naive side and I think, oh, Art Scroll, this is just the truth. Or I read Aish.com, oh, these guys are sincere. This is just true Judaism. Or I read Chabad material. Oh, this is just true, official, authentic Judaism. And I kind of start romancing with that notion and not have it on my dashboard that, proselytizing, missionary work
sure.
going on here. Then I can start getting a little bit woozy or drunk with what I'm reading. But even then, if that happens, heaven forbid, I'm going to have to choose at one point to call somebody rabbi, right? I'm going to have to find someone who's going to, let's say, convert me. Even if let's say I'm halakhically, born Jewish, but let's say there's some sort of discrepancy or they don't know for sure. So I have to go through some sort of acknowledgement procedure. I have to go through some little hoops and jumps. Maybe pay a fee to get officially, if let's say they don't recognize my Jewishness. Okay. I still have to go through an institutional channel. I have to go through a flesh and blood person, and that person is going to mediate to me the meaning of the tradition differently than another guy. If you go to Chabad's going to be a different path than, let's say, Aish, or then we're not even talking about the differences among the different strands. You've got Reformed tradition, you've got Reconstructionists, you've got conservative, all these big labels. But in any event, any of these have institutional. There is no monolithic Judaism. What you have is institutional organizations of real people with presidents and vice presidents, and rabbinical boards with their bottom line platforms and things like this. And you're going to have to go through one of those. And even then, you are having to enter into a situation where you are to kind of put your thinking cap off to the side, and you're going to have to transgress some of Yeshua's commandments to do that. You're going to have to transgress, call no man rabbi, right? And I know that there's people in the Messianic world who have Messianic rabbis, and they call them rabbi, rabbi, rabbi. I don't get it, but Matthew 23 says don't call any man rabbi. Not only that, let's even set aside that. Let's not even focus on that passage because people want to quibble about what did Yeshua mean there. Go to the beginning of Matthew 23. He says the scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. Okay, Yeshua he tells us to not do according to the way they do. So if Yeshua wanted you to follow the Talmud, he's putting a stumbling block in front of you right off the bat by telling you you're going to have a discernment with when you listen to them and when you don't. If a modern Orthodox Jew, even more so in a Hasidic Jew or an ultra Orthodox, they do not have a permission slip to start parsing whether or not they agree with their rabbi. That's not an option.
Yeah,
because it's all Torah. It's all Torah. You're not given a distance to think for yourself along some of those things, whether you're going to accept a tradition or not. And so this is a very, very big issue. If you call the halakha the word of God,
yeah.
And this is Yeshiva University, or the Elchanan Yeshiva, Yeshiva University, modern Orthodox, is that the Rabbinic halakha is the capital W word of God. Yeah. You cannot have that and the Gospels and the epistles, etc., be the word of God. You can't have it both ways. Not only that, one more point. Yeshua says we must discern. His disciples must do the hard work, and it's a narrow path of discerning between the word of God and the traditions of men. We are called, that is a commandment, basically, implicitly, that Yeshua gives us. We can't just swallow everything that we hear as authentic as if it's the word of God. We're called to investigate and to be patient, and all the fruits of the Spirit that are encouraged and challenged to grow while we're in that realm of trying to differentiate between what is the word of God and what tradition meant. If you jump into an Orthodox community, you've turned off that part of your being, and you can't belong for life with Yeshua in that kind of situation.
So he says we will, after naming some of these things, he says we will all be following our own guidelines, and the Messianic world will be a complete mess. Here's the thing. Okay, first of all, even the rabbis disagree with that. And the reason why is because when Moses' father-in-law comes, right, and he says, what are you doing here? I'm paraphrasing, of course. What are you doing here? You're trying to listen to everybody's argument? No, you put judges up and then put local judges up and all these kind of things, right? And this is where the Orthodox get the idea of ask your local rabbi. I'll give you a story. This has happened to my father numerous times now, and I was actually there for one of them. We were sitting in an airport, and there was an Orthodox guy, and it was Shabbat, and my father doesn't like to travel on Shabbat, but sometimes you can't get around it. And so this Orthodox man, he also expressed that he didn't want to be traveling, but he had to, and he had brought some food, and he offered some food to my father and me, which was very nice of him. And obviously, my dad looks very much like an Orthodox Jew, and I was wearing my kippah as well. Well, my dad was eating, and he pulled out his computer, and he turned his computer on. He opened his computer. And the guy looked at him and said, "What are you doing? You can't open your computer on Shabbat." And my dad said, "No, my rabbi said it's okay." And the guy, without batting an eye, just said, "Oh, okay." Now, of course, for him and his halakha, in his local community, opening his computer on Shabbat is not allowed, and he's not allowed to do that. But since my father said, "No, my rabbi says it's okay," Oh, okay, no problem. The point is that the whole concept of keeping Torah and the way that the various Orthodox communities observe the oral Torah is that they ask their local rabbi, and that's the point. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking this round thing here, and you can watch the full episode of that clip by clicking this square thing over here.